Welcome back to the News at 10. Going to toss it over now to Ibrahim Adra in Abuja, who has more on the News at 10. Hi, Ibrahim.
Hello, Marachi. Good to hear from you. Now, let's move away from the economy for a moment and talk health care. The National Agency for the Control of AIDS in Nigeria has decried the lack of adequate local financial support for the control of AIDS in the country. According to the agency, over 90% of people living with AIDS who are currently on drugs rely heavily on foreign donations. While speaking at the conference in Abuja, the Director General of NACA appealed to federal and state governments, as well as the organized private sector, to keep their promise and help treat more people.
Globally, an estimated 36 million people are living with HIV and AIDS, and 3.2 million of this population is in Nigeria, making the country the second largest contributor to the HIV and AIDS pandemic. Efforts to reduce the HIV/AIDS prevalence in Nigeria has led to several interventions, including government's target to put 90% of people living with HIV and AIDS on treatment by the year 2020. Ambitious as that target may seem, the reality, however, reveals that Nigeria is far from achieving the goal. And the reason is that the nation depends majorly on foreign donations for the treatment of people living with HIV and AIDS, a situation that stakeholders have criticized.
95% of the 1.1 million Nigerians, or close to 1.1 million Nigerians, for treatment courtesy of the U.S. government and Global Fund. That's not something that government is comfortable with, and we are committed to changing those figures.
Government does have to step up. We do have to put our resources in funding the HIV response. All the promises that have been made, that we're still waiting and hoping that these promises will be fulfilled.
The average cost of treatment per person living with HIV and AIDS in Nigeria is put at 47,885 naira annually. Going by this calculation, it will require 153,232 million naira to put the estimated 3.2 million people living with HIV and AIDS in Nigeria on treatment annually. This amount will no doubt require a more committed determination and collaboration between the federal and state governments to achieve.
Governments at the state levels must join this effort and fund AIDS in their respective states. The same is true also for the private sector.
Some progress has, however, been made to end the HIV scourge in Nigeria. For example, the United Nations report states that since 2010, new HIV infections have decreased by 21%, and AIDS-related deaths have also decreased by 6%. Although there has been a long-standing controversy on the validity of some of the HIV/AIDS statistics in Nigeria, reason why the federal government launched the 2018 HIV/AIDS survey. The consensus among health experts is that there is an urgent need to increase local funding so that more people can be placed on treatment.
And in politics, a wave of high-level defection seems to have assailed the All-Progressive Congress in Benue State following the departure of Governor Samuel Otom from the party. Several of the governor's loyalists from Gwe West local government have followed him into the People's Democratic Party. The APC defectors, including the local government chairman, his deputy, several councillors and state lawmakers, demonstrated their displeasure by setting the symbol of their former party ablaze. Led by a federal lawmaker, Mr. Mark Gbela, the defectors say they cannot accept what they describe as the federal government's failure to protect them from herdsmen attacks and alleged intimidation of Governor Otom. Now, over in the southeast, the Imo State governor has asked newly elected council chairmen to ensure they bring meaningful development to their communities. Governor Okorocha gave the advice during the swearing-in of the 27 local government chairmen in Owerri, the Imo State capital. He says the people at the grassroots are yearning for leadership that will fight for their cause. He adds that his administration will continue to work on projects that will ensure that the dividends of democracy is felt at the grassroots. And that's all from this end. We'll rejoin Amarachi in our Lagos studio. Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Ibrahim. And now to some company news. Nigeria's domestic carrier Air Peace Airlines has taken delivery of a Boeing 777-300 aircraft as part of plans to launch its long-haul operations. The arrival of the aircraft, considered as one of the most advanced machines in the aviation industry, makes Air Peace the first Nigerian airline to own two of the wide-body jetliners. The airline's chief operating officer, Oluwatoyin Olajide, says the expansion of routes by the airline will also create employment opportunities for Nigerians.
The traditional water cannon salute welcomes the 777-300 aircraft, christened Ojochide, to the airside of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. Domestic carrier Air Peace, who adds a second aircraft of this type to its fleet, says this is part of plans to deepen its international network.
This is also going to be part of the aircraft they'll be using for international flights. You remember that we have the federal government had given us approval to fly into 6 international destinations. That is London, to South Africa, to Dubai, to Houston in America.
And that's not all. The carrier, which prides itself as pro-Nigeria, believes this will open up more job opportunities to Nigerians.
With this, we're able to at least give more employment to Nigerians, because that is part of the reason why we exist, is to be able to help the teeming population of this country and then to be able to support employment, in this country.
The Boeing 777, which is a long-range, wide-body twin-engine jetliner, seating 320 passengers in its configuration for Air Peace, was flown into the country by Nigerians, a feat the airline is proud of.
It's a very lovely experience. I mean, I've been flying other aircraft, but this one is more advanced, more automated, and easier to fly, if you ask me. But yeah, it's easier to fly. It's bigger, but more advanced, and it does more things for you.
While the global aviation industry also grapples with the shortage of captains, the airline is putting plans in place for the future.
Bringing a lot of expatriate captains in, but we're bringing them in on the 737, the small aircrafts that we fly, and we're moving the Nigerian captains to the 777. In the last two years, we must have trained, off the top of my head, I would say at least nearly 30 co-pilots out of school, giving them type ratings.
The 777 ranks as one of Boeing's best-selling models, which is comparatively fuel efficient and increasingly being deployed on long-haul operations.
Interswitch has hosted 81 students who have qualified for the 2018 Speed, Accuracy and Knowledge National Science Competition. Tagged Masterclass 1.0, the meeting was a session of discussions on social innovation, entrepreneurship, and as emotional intelligence. It was hosted by the Group Managing Director of Interswitch Limited, Mitchell Elegbe.
These are the 81 most outstanding out of over 13,000 SS2 science students who entered for the 2018 Interswitch Spark National Science Competition. Spark, which is speed, perseverance, accuracy and knowledge, has the objective to challenge secondary school students from all parts of Nigeria to take the theories taught in a classroom to the real world.
With Interswitch Spark, with science, technology, engineering and math, we think you have the tools it takes to drastically reduce the seriousness of this challenge if you guys will put your minds and hearts to work. Come from.
Interswitch has organized what it calls Masterclass 1.0 to broaden the minds of the students before they proceed to the next level of the competition, and the class exposes them to tips of success.
As Nigerians, we have to accept the fact that most of us will be very successful here. The most successful people will be successful out of this place. You will come up with ideas and interesting solutions that will then lift many of our people out of poverty.
It's not enough to solve a problem for one person or 10 people. The next question is, can I take the solution to this problem to 100,000 people, to 200,000 people, and eventually to 200 million Nigerians?
Now armed with these information, the students brace up for a stiff competition, which will give the winner a 7.5 million naira scholarship fund.
The winners would get a reward of university scholarship for 4 years, 5, 4, and 3 years.
The competition also has the Innovation Challenge, which for 2018 will be on transportation, healthcare, and out of school, and the winner will be given a Founders Award.
Let's bring in Kayode Okikiolu now for more business news.
You First. First Bank.
Thank you, Amarachi. Let's talk business now. As Nigeria's Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma says the government is encouraged by the continuing growth posted in the non-oil sector of the economy in the second quarter. The minister's response to the GDP report released on Monday came in via the federal government's official Twitter handle. He says the 2.05% growth in the months of April to June this year is evidence that the implementation of the targeted policies and programs of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan is yielding positive results. The tweet also quoted the minister as happy to note that the Nigerian economy has continued to attract significant capital inflows, totaling $11.8 billion in the first half of 2018, the highest since 2014. And data from the National Bureau of Statistics shows that Nigeria's manufacturing sector recorded a real GDP fall of 0.04 points to 0.68, while nominal GDP rose by 3.55 points to 19.52% nominal growth within the second quarter of 2018. The country's finance sector saw a nominal GDP growth of 3.49% and 1.28% real GDP growth, while trade within the second quarter stood at minus 0.01% in nominal value and negative 2.14% in real value. The information and communication sector grew by 12.68 points to 15.34% in nominal terms and 112.96 points to 11.81% in real terms, while the broadcasting sector jumped by 21.92% from 0.90% in the first quarter. Let's head over to the Nigerian Stock Exchange as profit taken in the shares of NSE's biggest listed companies, Dangote Cement, hit key market indicators as trading enters the last 5 sessions for the month of August. Chimeze Obiwagu has details of today's activities.
Thank you, Kayode, and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Just like the second quarter GDP, the final trading week of August started on a disappointing note, with the index down by 0.32%. Bargain hunting for the shares of Dangote Cement determined the direction of the market, as buyers and sellers had interest on that stock. In the end, sellers have the upper hand, which pushed the stock down 2.13%, leading to 0.40% negative recorded on the industrial sector. Lafarge Wapco, also listed on the industrial sector, is planning to raise 100 billion naira in right issues and has scheduled an extraordinary general meeting for September 25. That stock gained by 2.86%, adding 75 kobo to its share price. The banking sector looks more stable, gaining by 0.96%, with GT Bank driving the gains. Transaction volume and value remain low, just 178 million shares worth 2.02 billion naira were traded in 2,981 deals. Traders believe that with more stability from the banking sector and Dangote Cement, there might be a shift to the positive territory before the week runs out. And that was the Stock Market Report. I'm Chimeze Obiwagu. Back to you now, Kayode.
Thank you, Chimeze. On the global scene, major stock markets across US, Europe, and Asia end Monday's session upbeat as investors react to a new trade deal between the United States and Mexico. And this is set to replace the North American Free Trade Agreement. On the other hand, it's mixed performance for some leading African markets on Monday. And that's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I am Kayode Okikiolu. The news at 10 continues with Amarachi.
You First. First Bank.
Thanks, Kayode. Still ahead on the news at 10. World number one, Simona Halep of Romania suffers shock exit in the US Open for the second consecutive year. More coming up in sports news. Stay with us.